Welcome to the Roll Call Podcast. I am Joe Aguirre along with Dominic Zappone. This team's hard to figure out. It really is. This team, and I think that it's maybe the problem all season long. It's just been the inconsistency with which this team seems to operate and their inability to just get hits, just to string anything together at all is disappointing, disheartening. Before Toronto, they were 14-5. They were had the best record in baseball in that stretch. Things were looking good. There were some bright spots. Michael King, who's always advocated himself to be a starter on this team, is making a really good case for it. Gerrit Cole may have locked down the Cy Young Award with his performance yesterday. So one of the very few positives on this season is Gerrit Cole, who again was outstanding yesterday. Won his 14th game, and I think again, for all intents and purposes, is probably locked up the Cy Young Award. But disappointing all around otherwise. And Esteban Florial, guess what? It's hitting just like everybody else is. Right around 200. I will tell you this, look it up. He's hitting 280 with runners in scoring position. When Esteban Florial has somebody at second base, suddenly he's got a much more keen eye.
Yeah, I mean, he came up, I think he's played about 10 games, 30 at bats, something like that. And nothing jumps off the page. But yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I check the Yankees score, it's every day Florial's getting a hit or driving somebody in. I mean, that's definitely not the case. He's batting 200 right now, but
Well,
he's
but Dom,
he's been one of the bright spots the
in a
past week.
lineup where not a lot of guys are hitting, it does stand out. And I'll to your point, last year he had 30 at bats. All last season, that's all he got was 30 at bats. He had 3 base hits and 30 at bats. This year, he's got 30 at bats. He's got 6 hits. So again, it wasn't impressive, but he's now doubled what he did last time. He's also drawn 5 walks, and he's knocked in 5 runs. So he's not any worse than anybody else in that lineup right now. Is he screaming, re-sign me and bring me back to be your center fielder next year? No. Is it possible? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Billy McKinney. It's better than Jake Bauers. And I mean, with all the injuries, people are starting to go down kind of left and right. It's like we're 7.5 games back of the wild card right now. It's not looking good. I think our number is like 2 or 3 until we're eliminated from the playoffs. So I mean, why not give him a shot? He's got no more options. So if they don't bring him back on the major league roster next year, he's gone. So I mean, this last couple of weeks, why not just give him a shot, see what he's got? I mean, if that's an extra bat for your bench next year, that's fine. Whatever, that works. He's athletic. He's still a left-handed bat. He plays good defense. I mean, he's got some pop in that bat. If he could give you something at all, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Just disappointing this season. And obviously the chances of the Yankees catching up here and winning this wild card are slim and none. And the funny thing is if you think about what if the Yankees made the wild card? I don't think it would. I think they'd be out really quickly here. Again, their inability to hit in big situations, particularly off quality pitching, it's problematic. And I'll tell you, none of these young guys, and I'll throw Anthony Volpe in there. None of these young guys makes me think if you bring this team back next year with Aaron Judge, maybe LeMahieu and or Rizzo and Stanton And the rest, like these young guys, don't make me think this team can come back next year and things would be any different. It seems like these guys are all roughly 200 to 220 hitters.
Um, Anthony Volpe, I will say, I think his case is different. It obviously hasn't been the best rookie season, looking at the average, the OPS, all that stuff, but the 20 home runs, the 20 stolen bases, one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. I think there's definitely a future there with him. I think he could be a big piece for us moving forward. But regardless, if this team stays the same, it's going to be the same thing again next year. This team has to have some turnover in some capacity, whether it's front office or lineup, pitching, whatever it is. I know they've been scouting some Japanese pitcher, Yamamoto, a lot recently, and I think he is coming to the MLB this offseason. But again, that's not really the issue. It's the offense. And the last few years, it hasn't really shown until the postseason. That's kind of where it's been like out there the most. This year, obviously, we've seen it every single day we've watched them. So I mean, the rookies, they're young kids, they're rookies, obviously. They've got a ton of time to grow. Um, but yeah, if this team comes out next year and hasn't made a move, I mean, we're looking at another fourth or fifth place finish in the division again. So I mean,
By the way, just an update on Jason Dominguez. He got the internal brace for his UCL like Brock Purdy did. We talked about this last episode. My brother texted me yesterday. The Yankees are saying 9 to 10 months recovery time. My brother said 6 to 7 months seems like a realistic time frame. He was my brother was an athletic trainer, um, and actually worked with a two-time national champion soccer team, so he understands these things. He's not your average fan. But if Brock Purdy can come back slinging in 6 to 7 months, no reason to think Dominguez can't be back maybe by late May next year.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to go through the offseason, do what he can. I'm not expecting him to get rushed back or anything like that. There's no point in that. He comes back when he comes back. I wish, obviously, it didn't happen, but you can't really control that. It would have been nice to have him play out the rest of this season for the beginning of next season, but stuff happens, and you just wish him the best. Hopefully, that recovery is quick. But he's one of the few bright spots. I mean, we saw him for a week, but I mean, it was a very fun week. So
Yeah. The reason I'm bringing him up real quick is I saw this stat. And entering today, the Yankees have been hitless in 48.8% of innings this season. That's the highest rate in Major League Baseball. About half the innings you've played this year have produced nothing. And again, this isn't like, and we've talked about this, Dom. That's not a high on base percentage team. So you're not hitting, you're not getting on base, not really hitting a lot of homers. What are you doing to produce? And that's the problem here is, again, this just feels like a lineup of 9 guys doing 9 different things. Most of them with the thought of, I'm going to hit a home run here. No matter the situation, no matter the count, it does lead to a high percentage of strikeouts, obviously. But like half the innings, no hits.
yeah, I mean, you got to be thinking about it. Like the players know that they're not producing, and I mean, when they go up there to the plate, obviously we don't know what's going on in their head, but they got to be thinking, hey, we're not doing good as a team. I got to do something big here to spark this lineup. I'm going to try and hit a home run, or I'm going to try and hit an extra base hit to get these guys going. And 9 out of 10 times that does not work out. Probably more than that. But the philosophy of get on base, hit the ball hard, it's a nice philosophy, but this roster is not capable of that.
So my homeboy Sander just chimed in from Facebook. Joe, can you explain what went wrong this season? Yeah, I can. And love Sander because he's a Yankee fan, hate Sander because he's a Cowboys fan. But uh, No, I'm just kidding, Sander. And I'll tell you this on Joing about the G-men about the Buffalo Bills. Asked me that same question. What went wrong with them last season, right? I mean, you went into this season and the running game was the problem. You didn't really address that. You tried to, and your attempts failed. And so that's ultimately when Buffalo came up short and people were like, "Oh, it was their year." The Yankees went into this season not knowing who their left fielder was, knowing that Josh Donaldson looked terrible before the season had even started. It was problematic. Look at Luis Severino. I mean, inexplicable. I say every year when he comes back from injury, and he usually comes back, he looks dynamite. I always say, and people are like, "Well, you don't know what we're going to get." And I'm like, "Yes, you do. He's a top pitcher in baseball." That's not the case anymore. Luis Severino, again, like with this team, just consistently inconsistent. Just a combination of all of those things. I also think if you want to cut the Yankees some slack, look at the injured list. Start in April and work your way to right now. It's an all-star team of relief pitchers from the bullpen. I mean, some of their best pitchers over the last couple of years, and they've been mostly unavailable. And
Yeah.
so, again, uh, I defend DJ LeMahieu for people who's like, "Oh, he's stuck here forever." I think DJ LeMahieu is going to be fine. Okay. I think he'll get himself back on track. He certainly, in the last couple of weeks, looked a lot better. A little bit cold again over the last couple of days, but this is a guy who's been playing through an injury that has caused a problem in his balance. And the kind of hitter he is, the balance is super important, especially the ability to go the other way, to take to go with a pitch. And he's going to be fine. Anthony Rizzo, I like a lot. And before he got hurt, he looked like he was going to have a breakout year. He played through the injury and was awful, to the point where a lot of fans have sort of given up on Anthony Rizzo, who's now obviously out for the season. And it's like, I here's one of those other people get pissed every year. Stanton's on the IL for 2 months, right? Because he strained his groin or whatever stupid muscle he's yanking on is pulled. He's out. And people are like, Stanton, he never plays. But then you get guys like LeMahieu, you get guys like Rizzo who knew they needed to grind, played through the injuries. Aaron Judge, again, the way Aaron Judge plays, tried to give it a go after the foot thing. He would have played through that if he could, and he would have struggled. And people would have been angry about that. And so you put these guys in the weird spot of if they sit, you're pissed. If they play, you're more pissed because they're not performing. But it's like you wanted a hurt guy to play. What did you think was going to happen? So I think that's one of the things you're dealing with. And obviously, Sandra, you're my boy. I love you. I always like to have fun with Sander on these podcasts. What has happened? What has to happen for the Yankees to get back to championship contention? Listen, I think you need a structural rehaul here. Brian Cashman, move him up. Make him the president or something, and get a general manager in there. Somebody young, somebody who's can't see beyond where. I mean, we all knew from the time the Yankees acquired Giancarlo Stanton, and every piece they've put on this team since has been a carbon copy of Aaron Judge. I love Aaron Judge. 310 last year. He's hitting like 259 right now. I think Aaron Judge is going to be a Stanton-esque guy where 275 is about what you should expect. If he hits 310 some years, great. I don't think that's going to be consistent. So the guys around him and the guys in front of him need to either be high on base percentage guys or guys with batting averages over 300. I pointed this out, I think, in the last episode, but like the last 10 World Series winners have had multiple 300 hitters on their teams. You need guys who consistently get base hits. 3 out of 10 times is much better than 1.5 or 1.9. So that's what the Yankees have to do. They have to get back to being a contact team. You still got bombers, great, but get hits, get on base, draw more walks, be more disciplined. But they got to be more productive. It wouldn't kill them to have somebody at the bottom of the order that, I don't know, can bunt and do some things to produce when. And listen, I'm not saying a fundamental shift to small ball, Dom. I don't think that's realistic, and it doesn't jive with being the Bronx Bombers. But if you're slumping and you're in a series with Houston and you're facing their best pitchers, the ability or to have a guy on that team that could do some things, that's what you're looking for. Ultimately, that is what you need. As far as the pitching goes, again, Frankie Montas would have been a great 5. Never came to fruition, obviously. Rodon lately has been looking like what we thought it would have been. Way too little, way too late. Herman, again, inconsistent. I mean, just perfect game. That's him at his best. That's how good that guy can be. Giving up 9 runs in 3 innings in Oakland is also what he can do. It's hard to even understand how a guy could be so inconsistent, but I think he sort of is the prototype for the bigger problem here. So there's not anyone to go out and get, Dom, that's going to fix the mess. I think it's just a fundamental baseball's different, in the teams that are succeeding, you got to play like they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately comes down to balance in the lineup, balance in the pitching staff, and I mean, leadership in that locker room. I mean, you could tell that this club is missing the CC and Brett Gardners of the world. That 2 month absence with Aaron Judge out, it's kind of hard for him to be a leader when he's not out there on the field with them. So I mean, that kind of just drains the entire morale of the whole team. And I mean, back to the offense, it's just there's no balance at all. I mean, we called up the rookies this past few weeks, and there's finally a few lefties in the lineup, but they're all the same. Hit the ball hard, try and get on base, and it's just not working out. They need to overhaul the front office, in my opinion.
Yeah. Fun. No. So Sanders says something interesting here. He just commented some prime Brett Gardners and prime Jeter type players. So yes, but let's not call them prime Gardner and prime Jeter players, because to me, and we do this all the time, and I say we, I mean the New York media creates this constant narrative of like the next Mariano Rivera, Volpe's going to be the next Derek Jeter, and it's like, stop doing that. The Martian's going to be like Mickey Mantle. Oh, good God. Why say that? You don't need to say that. We just want these guys to become superstars. Now, to Sanders' point, yes, guys like Brett Gardner, who could hit home runs, but got on base, got hit by pitches, walked a lot, stole bases, played great defense, all of those things. Yes, guys like that. Now, Brett Gardner from the last 2 years that he played, no, he was terrible. He was a low average hitter, trying to hit too many home runs. Sander, I know exactly what you mean. I just wanted to jump to the next logical thing, and I know that's not what you're saying. You're talking about guys that are clutch. Again, you look at Derek Jeter, the 6th most hits of all time, and you're like, was he that good? It didn't even seem like it. And I don't know if it's just the way he conducted himself, or if it was just being surrounded by all the great talent. But for a long time, don't take this the wrong way, any Yankee fans, please, but I felt like Derek Jeter was the lesser of the big shortstops in the American League at the time. The Nomar Garcia Perez, Miguel Tejada, Alex Rodriguez. There were a lot of those guys And I thought Jeter was kind of on the low end there, and he hit the least amount of home runs of all of those guys. And so, as Jeter got later on in his career and only won the one championship as an adult, you sort of looked at the guy's numbers and you're like, holy smokes, man. Like, this guy quietly has put together a Hall of Fame career. Thinking that Anthony Volpe is going to be that is, again, unrealistic. And right, I made the point to you, I think the first episode we did, of how do you be the next Derek Jeter? I mean, do you need 3,500 hits to be a Derek Jeter? Do you need to make that throw from the hole and otherwise have limited range? Because Derek Jeter didn't have the best range at shortstop. Always seemed to make the big play, though.
That's the thing. He always made the big play. He always had the clutch hit.
Dom,
In New York.
we talk about his intangibles, the things that aren't on the baseball card, the flip, the dive, all the different Derek Jeter moments. So you're asking Anthony Volpe to be something that we can't even define. It's like all those things that made Derek Jeter great. We want that. What? I don't know what that is. And so, and again, I wrote an article on this a couple years ago, the Mariano Rivera effect, and I'll let you speak on my theory here. We have this unrealistic, first of all, memory that Mariano Rivera was untouchable. And that wasn't the case. And Mariano was great and mostly had great seasons. He had a couple years where he got touched up. Dingers. I remember Marco Scutaro hit a home run.
That's a name.
Yeah. From the Toronto Blue Jays to beat Mariano and the Yankees. He was pretty amazing. Didn't walk a lot of guys, which was, I think, one of the keys to getting out of his innings rather quickly. But we have, let's say you bring in Ron Mauriziano in the 6th inning and he gives up 2 hits right off the bat. You're like, send this bum back to Scranton. And it's like, dude, he's the 7th guy in your bullpen, for Christ's sake. Who do you think that is? Who do you think they just brought into the game? Not every guy is Jeff Nelson, who was a great Yankee reliever in the late 90s. He was one of those, he came into the 7th inning and he owned it. There's not that kind of depth anymore. Where you have limited, and again, I think that's part of the Yankees' problem this year has just been how many guys in that bullpen have been out, and has put guys in positions that they didn't necessarily. I mean, Wandy Peralta's been in so many big games and wouldn't not be my choice in any of them.
No, I mean he's been a solid option for us the last few years, no doubt about it. But I mean, besides Aroldis Chapman, who, I mean, the last few years was super inconsistent. We haven't had a real true closer in a long time.
But yet was still one of the best closers in baseball. And what did Yankee fans say? He's no Mariano. Who is? Mariano's the greatest relief pitcher, and to me, one of the greatest pitchers ever. So no, Aroldis Chapman's not Mariano Rivera. Nobody is. And what a unrealistic bar for Yankee fans to have. You're talking about again, look, you could go around the diamond, okay? You could go around the diamond practically. You start out there in right field. I mean, Babe Ruth's the greatest right fielder of all time. Aaron Judge has lived up to that billing somehow because of the power, right? Center field, Joe DiMaggio. Mickey Mantle had to live in that guy's shadow and become Mickey Mantle. That's why Mickey Mantle's considered to be so great. Also, had the advantage of Joe DiMaggio only played a 10-year career because of his military service. So his numbers weren't all that super inflated. Third base, Greg Nettles, who should be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. Um, Derek Jeter, shortstop, Hall of Famer. The previous greatest shortstop in Yankee history was Phil Rizzuto, who hit like 12 home runs in his entire career. So that was the bar for Yankee shortstops. First base, Lou Gehrig. That's the shadow that Don Mattingly. Those were the comparisons they made to that guy. And again, it's like you're talking about. I've mentioned some of the greatest baseball players in history. That's asking a guy to live up to a Hall of Famer. You don't see that in Boston. They're not like, oh, this guy's the next Ted Williams. There's no such thing as the next Ted Williams. And I think at least other places, they don't have the storied history of the Yankees. But if they did, they're at least smart enough to know, like, you're not going to be the next Hall of Fame guy. Let's shoot lower. Let's shoot for like, hey, we'll take couple all-star appearances, maybe an MVP kind of season, a couple of top 10 finishes. That's what you're looking for in superstars. But this constant comparison and expectation that they're going to be the next this guy is so idiotic and unfair. And when you talk about the pressures of New York already, throw that on there, Dom.
Yeah, I mean that the fans, the expectations are always through the roof, obviously. But I mean the media too. I mean, this is the hardest place to play in the United States. The media is crazy here. Their expectations are always high as well. And the second that something goes wrong for the Yankees, they're always all over it. So I mean, the expectations are always going to be high. That's never going to change. That just comes with who the Yankees are, their history. Um, I mean, as it goes for new guys coming up, I mean, yeah, we have to do a better job of limiting our expectations, I guess I could say. Um, because you're right. I mean, every single guy we call up is not going to Hall of Fame. I mean, we've got maybe two people on a roster that could potentially be Hall of Famers in Judge and Cole right now, and they're still in the midst of their career. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of their career? But I mean, we're setting expectations way too high. But that's just what we know. That's just what we've been given as fans. And I mean, for myself, being born in 2000, I I didn't really get to witness those late '90s, early 2000s Yankees. Even the 2009 World Series, I was still super young. But I mean, the expectations. I mean, my grandmother, before she passed away, I would go over there and watch every single Yankees game every single day with her. And she had pictures with Yogi Berra at the airport, just all this stuff. Like, oh, these guys are great. Hopefully, these guys coming up could be just like these guys. So I mean, the expectations are just always way too high, and I mean that's our fault. That's the media's fault. But it comes
Well,
down to
I will
putting a better
say this.
product on the field.
I'm going to blame the media. It's the media's fault because the media are the ones who set the unrealistic expectations, and the fans don't know any better, so they hear the nonsense and they start to buy into it. But yeah. I mean that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I think as Yankee fans, I think that first of all, I think this team needs an identity. Again, when I say it needs an overhaul, I do think that the Yankees need to find somebody who can hit near the top of this order, who's going to hit 300. You gotta go out there and get a guy like that. I don't know who
Yeah,
that
I
is.
mean, we haven't had a
It's not
leadoff guy in
Otani. I
forever.
can tell you
No,
that. It's not
it won't be
Shohei
Otani.
Otani. I think there's a 0% chance that the Yankees even pursue him in any meaningful way.
They'll say they got a meeting with him and all that stuff, the clickbait, all that crap, just so that we could say that they at least tried to get him. But I mean, you look at the way the roster is constructed right now. Giancarlo Stanton has to DH 4 or 5 days a week. Otani isn't going to be able to pitch again until at least 2025. So I mean, you're not putting him in the outfield. Where are you going to play him? Otani's not coming to the Yankees. I'm not even considering that.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I will say this with the remaining 9 games, I would like to see somebody start hitting Just put a little something together and end the year on a nice like 9-10 game hitting streak. Something to talk about, something to feel good about. Again, it's stunningly inconsistent. So now you got 3 games coming up here with the D-backs starting tonight at 7:05. Saturday and Sunday, a 1:05 start and a 1:35 start. Luke Weaver goes for the Yankees. Actually pitched decently in his debut. No, as Sanders just asked, are the Yankees out? No, they're technically still, what is it, 2?
I believe
2 or
it's 2 or 3. I know the other day it was 3, but we won. What was it,
I mean, at
yesterday
this
or 2 days
point,
ago?
really, to me,
Yeah.
losing is not an option going forward. You got 3 with the D-backs. You're off Monday. And you know what? Maybe we'll come back Monday, Dom, and do a show here just to preview Toronto. Because look, they got swept by Toronto, nearly got swept again by Toronto. If not for the great Gerrit Cole. Michael King goes Tuesday against Toronto. That would put Cole up against Barrios on Wednesday. Listen, you got to go in there. You got to sweep Arizona. Like there's no question about that. And if you don't, it's over. And if you lose the series to the Diamondbacks, I actually think you're officially eliminated. Because if you can go in there and sweep the Diamondbacks, you've got 3 with the Blue Jays. And right now they're 7.5 behind the Jays for that last spot. So again, you could conceivably sweep the Diamondbacks, sweep the Blue Jays, and you'd still be a half game back with 2 games to go. And they're playing the Royals for the last 2 games of the year, the 102 loss Royals. Rodon and Schmidt slated to start those last 2 games. So there's zero room for error here. Like I said, you could win out and still miss the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe it's 2. I believe it's 2. So yeah, if we lose one, even if we lose one game, it's. I mean, you need the Blue Jays to lose pretty much all their games, and you need us to win all of our games. So I mean, that already is pretty unrealistic. Obviously, anything can happen, but yeah, back to what you said. I really just want to see somebody get it going the last few games here. I mean, Glaber, as much as people have their opinions on Glaber, he's been our best hitter. He really has. And I mean, I think I said it last episode. If Glaber Torres is the best hitter on your baseball team, you're not a playoff team. And that's no disrespect to Glaber. I actually really like Glaber. I don't know what they're going to do with him because the infield is a logjam right now. And I believe next year is the last year of his deal until he's a free agent. Um, but I mean, you need more than that. Glaber has been one of the best second basemen in baseball this season. He's had a pretty good season, I will say. He's got the mental mistakes, he's got the defensive problems, no doubt. But I mean, that's supposed to be hidden behind the rest of a very good lineup that we don't have. And if we had that good lineup, we wouldn't be talking about that all the time. That stuff just stands out because everybody else is stunk.
That guy has defensively, physically blown games for this team. I've got issues with Glaber Torres. And again, to me, when Glaber Torres was hitting 38 dingers, I could overlook it. 21 homers. If he was hitting 290, all right. Hitting 260, that's my thing. I think the bad outweighs the good with him a little bit. He's been their best hitter this season. You're not wrong about that. But I think that just speaks to the biggest problem about this team because he's not supposed to be the best hitter on this team.
He's supposed to be hitting at the bottom of the lineup. He really should be. He shouldn't be hitting higher than 5 every single day. And I don't know what they're going to do about it. There's not much they can do in the off season. I know a lot of people would say just go out and spend, get anybody that you can, but I mean that's not going to fix it. I mean, let's say you go out and get a Cody Bellinger. I mean, great, that's a left-handed bat, center fielder, very athletic, could move over to first potentially when Rizzo leaves. Sure, I could understand that. But then what? That's one that the last few years, besides this year, has not been good. So you're taking a big gamble on that. Then what? You waste money on that for him not to work out. I mean, there's just I really have no idea what direction they're going to go in this offseason. I don't know if there's a right or wrong one. I don't know. There's a lot of change that needs to happen, and I don't think it can happen in one offseason.
What's up, Twitch? Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Crazy thing is, Gleyber Torres is 26 years old. It feels like he's been around forever. I mean,
That's another reason I love him. I mean, if you think about it, it's probably not the case, but he could just now be entering his prime. I mean, he's been in the league about 6 years, give or take, service time and all that crap.
Yeah.
He could just be entering his prime, which, that could be great. I don't know what he's going to command for money next year. Depending on that, I would bring him back. If it's too much, obviously, let him go. But for one of the best second basemen in baseball, I would definitely bring him back. But they have so much other things to worry about. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. They got a lot on their plate.
I'll tell you this, whatever they do, we will be all over it, Dom. We will be all over it. We will break it down. We will analyze. I think we're going to try to shoot back here for Monday to preview this last series. Again, I mean, unless the Yankees, well, even if they do, then that'll be the nail in the coffin, and we could really bury them after that. But hey, like I said, they come out of Arizona and things are in good shape. We'll come back Monday and, talk. Right now, the Yankees have a 0.1% chance of making the playoffs.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Here you go, baby. That's right. And we're going to stick with them every step of the way, mostly for me because the Giants are awful. And right now I have nothing to look forward to.
That was a tough game last night. I took their alternate spread plus 19.5, and that was very close. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to say one more thing about Michael King, actually, too. The 13 strikeouts the other night. I feel like the past few years we've been hearing a lot about him being converted to a starter, and we've never seen it. And now, because of all the injuries, he was kind of forced to start. And man, has it worked out. I mean, are they going to just completely go into next year with him as a starter?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason why they wouldn't. And again, look at that. Look at the way that the top three lays out. Again, Rodon and Cole and Michael King, Schmidt as the 4.
That's not bad.
You're not in a bad spot, but again, I don't think it's been the rotation. Look at Severino, and he's been terrible. But other than that, oh, by the way, Johnny Brito out of the bullpen. I know he's been not a great starter. Again, pretty inconsistent. Out of the bullpen, I had the numbers, and I don't have them now in front of me, but I want to say it was like 23 games, like a 1.5 ERA or something. He's been
1.24. Yep.
1.24 out of the bullpen. He's been lights out dynamite. Boy, you swap him and King, Penn in rotation.
In 29 innings, he's 5-1 with a 1.24 ERA, 24 strikeouts, and a 198 opponent's batting average. I mean, that's electric stuff.
Yeah.
That's a long reliever right there.
Again, I you've got some pieces here. I think if the Yankees play their cards right, I do think you got to find someone that's a 300 hitter to get into this lineup at the top in front of Aaron Judge, because if you get that, they got to pitch to Aaron Judge, and that'll make the rest of your lineup that much better next year, no matter who's in it. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Make sure you check us out, clevercrestmedia.com/The Roll Call Podcast. You can go to the Facebook page. There's a Twitter page, Instagram. Make sure you check us out. We'll be back on Monday for Dominic Spone. I'm Joe McGuire. Thank you so much for watching The Roll Call Podcast.
Mm-hmm.